The house had been empty for as long as anyone on Hawthorn Lane could remember. It squatted at the dead end of the road where the streetlights stopped working, its roofline crooked like a broken smile. Ivy strangled its brickwork, and the windows were dark even at noon, reflecting nothing but warped sky. Children dared one another to touch the gate. Adults crossed the street without admitting why. Mara had always watched it. As a child, she would stand at her bedroom window in lace-trimmed black dresses, counting its windows the way other kids counted stars. She liked funerals, the hush of them, the way grief felt heavy and important. Her mother said it was a phase. The house said nothing, but it listened. Now Mara was 22, her hair dyed the color of wet ink. Lips dark as bruises, silver rings cold against her fingers. Fog rolled low and thick around her boots as she stood before the iron gate once more. The metal was furred with rust and etched with symbols so old they'd softened into decoration. When she touched it, the gate shuddered and swung inward with a long, aching groan. "Still dramatic," Mara murmured. The path to the house was narrower than she remembered. As if the hedges had leaned closer over the years to eavesdrop. Dead leaves whispered underfoot, though there was no wind. The porch sagged beneath her weight and released a breath that smelled like damp wood and old breath. The front door was not locked. It never had been. Mara pressed her palm to the wood. Beneath the peeling paint, scratches ran in looping patterns, overlapping, frantic. Words, maybe. Please. Her hand came away warm. She stepped inside. The door closed behind her with careful finality. The foyer was vast and dim, its ceiling lost in shadow. Dust coated everything in a fine gray pelt, except for a narrow path across the floor, as if something moved through the house regularly, dragging its memory along with it. The wallpaper sagged and bubbled, stained by dark handprints at shoulder height. Some were small. Some were not. Drip. Drip. The sound came from everywhere and nowhere, slow and patient. Mara's boots echoed too loudly, and then, half a second later, echoed again. "Hello," she said, voice low, respectful. The house responded. A single candle in a wall sconce flared to life, its flame bending toward her like a bow. Another followed. Then another. Light crept down the hallway in uneven pulses, revealing doorways that were deeper than they should have been, staircases that vanished into blackness below the floor. Above her, something shifted its weight. Mara smiled despite the chill crawling up her spine. "I missed you too." She climbed the staircase, each step groaning like an old throat clearing. The banister was slick, not with dust, but with something oily that left faint fingerprints behind. Portraits lined the wall, family after family, generations staring out with solemn eyes. As Mara passed, their gazes twitched, tracking her progress. One frame was empty except for a dark smear shaped vaguely like a person. At the landing, a tall mirror waited. Her reflection appeared, delayed, like a bad signal. The Mara in the glass tilted her head a fraction too far, lips curling upward. "Don't," Mara warned quietly. The reflection blinked, once, twice, then smiled wider. Mara turned away and continued down the hall, where the air grew colder with each step. The wallpaper changed here. The faded floral pattern tearing open in places to reveal images beneath, a young girl sitting cross-legged on the floor, braiding her own hair, a teenager in black lipstick carving symbols into her arm, a woman standing at the window, watching the road. Always the same woman. Always the same house. At the end of the hallway was the bedroom. The door was ajar, breathing slowly, in and out. When Mara pushed it open, the room exhaled fully, curtains billowing though the windows were nailed shut. Moonlight pooled unnaturally on the floor, revealing a bed made with surgical precision. At its center was a single indentation, as if someone had just risen or was about to lie down. The scent here was stronger, roses left too long in water, copper, rain soaked into soil. You kept it, Mara whispered. The walls rippled. The wallpaper peeled itself back like scabbed skin, revealing layers beneath, names scratched into plaster, dates that overlapped and repeated, tally marks climbing toward the ceiling. Some names were crossed out. Some were circled lovingly. Mara's name was everywhere. Behind her, the mirror screamed. She turned just in time to see her reflection step free of the glass, shards clinking softly as they sealed behind it. This Mara was paler, eyes sunken, smile fixed in place like a mask worn too long. You left, it said. Its voice sounded like it came from inside the walls. You promised. I was young, Mara said, heart hammering. I didn't understand. The house groaned, offended. The doors throughout the floor slammed shut one by one. The hallway stretched, lengthening impossibly. The windows blackened, their nails twisting deeper into the frames. You belonged here, the reflection said, stepping closer. You still do. Memory surged. Mara remembered sneaking out at night to sit on the porch, whispering secrets into the keyhole. She remembered the house humming her to sleep when her parents fought. She remembered cutting her palm and pressing it to the wall, the way the house had shuddered in pleasure. She remembered leaving, and how the house had screamed. I came back, Mara said, tears stinging her eyes. I won't leave again. The reflection studied her for a long moment, head cocked. Then it opened its arms. Mara stepped forward. The merging was cold and intimate, like sinking into deep water. Her breath caught as something ancient and hungry folded into her bones, filling spaces she hadn't known were empty. The house sighed, a long, satisfied sound. The walls smoothed. The doors unlocked themselves. The tally marks stopped growing. Somewhere deep in the foundation, a heart began to beat. Outside, Hawthorn Lane grew quieter. Fog swallowed the road. The streetlights flickered out one by one. In the bedroom window, a young goth woman stood smiling, her reflection perfectly in sync at last. The house was no longer empty. And it would never let her go again.